All right. Greetings, family. I want to welcome everybody to this webinar, this powerful webinar, this conversation, this dialogue, right? That we call 5 tips for Black homeschooling families. All right, it's actually based on an ebook that I wrote not too long ago, about a year ago, about 5 tips for Black homeschooling families, building a strong foundation through African-centered education and empowerment-based education. Okay, my name's Baba Amin Ojuok. I'm the founder of Uhuru Academy Education Solutions LLC, or the Uhuru Academy, and I want to welcome everyone to this dialogue, to this conversation. Homeschooling has picked up in our community, particularly over the past 4 to 5 years, and I get constant calls, right, from Black parents inquiring on how to homeschool. What does it take to homeschool? A lot of people who are having some anxiety about homeschooling. Matter of fact, if you are a homeschooling parent, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you are a homeschooling parent. Also, we're going to take some questions as well during this webinar. All right. And so I want to thank everybody that's in attendance. Feel free to share this video, share the link, invite people in. This is a completely free a webinar. We have to get the conversation going, and we want to make sure that we're doing our part to ensure that Black homeschoolers are getting the resources that they need and connecting to the communities that they need, because you are not alone. If you are a homeschooling parent right now, or you're thinking about homeschooling, you are not alone. Black homeschooling parents are all over the world. Okay. And so it's not a small community at all, but we definitely want to put in the work necessary to link that community together. That being said, let's get started. All right. Some of you may not know who I am. My name is Baba Amin Ojuok. I'm a grassroots educator. I have an independent educator. I have over 30 years experience in the first. Oh, good, Kevin. That's what's up. Greetings. I have over 30 years of education experience on a grassroots level, inside the school system, outside the school system. I'm actually co-founder of the Uhuru Academy, which is an independent African-centered school founded in 2010 by myself and my beautiful wife and Koyo. So we've been on this journey. We've been on this journey for the past 14 years with the Uhuru Academy. Myself professionally and personally over 30 years bringing education solutions to the community. I have extensive experience developing African-centered programs and also coaching homeschooling parents. As a matter of fact, the Uhuru Academy has basically functioned as a partner to homeschooling parents since our inception, right? And so when I talk about what it takes to homeschool, when we talk about the mentality, when we're going to talk about some success stories, the whole 9 yards, it's I think it's imperative that you trust who I am, and you trust that my experience is what's going to be speaking today in regards to our subject matter. All right, a little bit more about me, right? Again, because I'm introducing myself, so a little bit more about me. I'm going to share my my bio here. Okay. All right. So, again, I'm formerly Stephen D. Richmond before I corrected my name in 2011. All right. So, but my government name is Stephen D. Richmond. Baba Amin Ojuok. A great quote from one of my colleagues, Dr. Stacy Parker Knight. Once Baba Amin finished speaking with the juniors and seniors, the request for college and career information went through the roof. I'm also a public speaker, you all. I do lectures when it comes to youth engagement, when it comes to motivating young people to succeed. I am available. All right. Born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm based out of Columbia, South Carolina right now. Just some career highlights, right? Just recently, we've been about the work over the past few years of taking the model that we've developed with the Uhuru Academy and working with other programs, bringing our model to other communities and other programs who are interested in bringing these these powerful solutions into their community and into their institution. A trainer of teachers. We train teachers in African-centered pedagogy. We train teachers in youth engagement. We train teachers in vision development. Not only do we work with homeschooling parents, we've also worked with public school districts, taking our model and approach into public school districts to very, very successful results. Thinking about the African-centered only African-centered public school in the country, the African-centered school. Let me see. Trying to think of the name, get the name correctly. But the African-centered. I can't remember the exact name of the school, but Principal Claire Polk and her school, they came to visit us back in 2015. As a result of taking our model back in, their students have shown improvement on their test scores, behavior, enthusiasm towards school, and the like, right? And we have other examples as well. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm going to stop sharing that. Right, and bring this back up. All right, let's go ahead and get into our discussion today. All right, and I admit that this is a little new to me as far as just talking into the computer, not having the people in front of me or engage with me inside of the presentation. So y'all bear with me as I get my rhythm as well. All right, cool. All right, so again, welcome to this webinar. It's just a quick webinar, 5 tips on for Black homeschooling parents. All right. Our focus is going to be empowering Black families through African-centered empowerment-based education. All right. And this is just an overview, y'all. This is going to be an overview of some key tips that you need to keep in mind on your homeschooling journey, right? So I'm not going to teach you everything about homeschooling, right? But I think that we're going to lay a solid foundation today, that's meant to like increase your confidence, that's meant to give you a sense of freedom, a sense of independence, a sense of power, right? As you embark on your homeschooling journey. Okay. And let's just get right into it, right? So when it comes to homeschooling, right, different states have different laws, right? We're dealing with the United States right now. Okay. And so the homeschooling laws that you have to deal with, right, are determined by your state legislature. Okay. So there's not one uniform homeschooling law or homeschooling requirement for everybody in the country. It's really diverse, and it really depends on where you are. And some states are friendlier to homeschooling than others. So when you decide to embark on your homeschooling journey, the first thing you want to do is learn the homeschooling laws of your state, right? Now, I'm not talking about asking somebody and having them tell you. Please do not assume. And you may have lived in one state where the homeschool laws are very regulated and strict, and then you may have moved to a state where the homeschool laws are not restrictive, right? And so if you go on your knowledge of another state, assuming it's going to be the same where you are, it might not be the case. So it's very important that you investigate and do the research to figure out what the homeschooling laws in your state are. Why? You want to avoid truancy issues, right? You want to avoid that. You may come up on a situation where your child needs to, I say family, you may come up on a situation where your child needs to transfer back into the public school system for one reason or another. You want to make sure that the grades that they earn in your homeschool are going to be accepted. So the first thing you need to do is know the laws, right? But it's important that in knowing those laws, you also have a mentality of knowing your rights and also knowing your power, right? There's a difference between what you have a right to do and what you have in exercising your power to do it. So it's very important that when you go into your homeschooling journey, don't go into your journey with a mindset that you're the property of the state, or that your child is the property of the state and that you have to do whatever they tell you to do. A lot of parents come to me and they come to me flustered and worried because maybe they talked to somebody at the front desk at the elementary school, and the person at the front desk, when they told that person they want to homeschool, the person at the front desk discouraged them. Oh, well, the state is not gonna allow you to do that. Well, you got to make sure you let us know exactly where you are and exactly what you're doing, or it's not gonna happen. Or you got to make sure that you're accredited, and that everything is transferable. Y'all, I'm gonna tell you something. People will make stuff up, or people will give you misinformation based on the misinformation that they've received, right? Also, a lot of times your public school wants to discourage you from withdrawing your student, so they'll say anything to keep your child in the school. So it's important to do that research on your own, right? Now, the most comprehensive website that I found to date, right, to look up and find the homeschooling laws in your state, because sometimes you'll go to your state website and that menu is so complicated and complex, it'll take you forever to find out where the homeschooling laws are, right? So a site that we like to use is hslda.org, right? And I'm going to go ahead and share this site. We're going to look at this site right quick. I want to show you, because HSLDA, right, its site, okay, contains a homeschooling map, homeschooling laws by state map, all right? And this is very, very useful, okay? So when we come here, again, that's hslda.org. Make sure you write that down. Homeschool laws by state. As you see, you have a comprehensive map right here. Okay. And notice the color coding, right? Before we even get into that, and how to find your state, notice the color coding on the map, right? The states that are in green are states that don't require any notice and have very low regulation when it comes to homeschooling. Right? So if you're in Texas, if you're in Oklahoma, if you're in Idaho, if you're in Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, or Indiana, you live in a state that's extremely homeschool friendly, right? I started the Uhuru Academy in Texas, right? And I began my homeschooling journey in Texas, for example. And in Texas, all I had to do was go up to the school, legally withdraw my child, right? Fill out a withdrawal form, all right, to withdraw my child. There's a section that says, why are you withdrawing your child? And one of the options says to homeschool. I checked homeschool, turned in that form, and I was done. That was it, right? My homeschooling journey had begun, because there's little to no regulation in Texas for homeschooling. Right. And so those states are friend. This is important because some of you are investing in your child's education and you're so vested in it, you may have an option to move to a state that's more homeschool friendly than the state that you're living in now. All right. I know that's not everybody, but there are people who say, you know what, this means that much to me. I'm willing that I'm willing to actually move to a state that's more homeschool friendly. Now, notice though, that most states are light blue, and that means that's low regulation. That means, yes, there is some communication that has to happen between you and the state, but not so extensive that the state is looking over your shoulder and monitoring everything that you're doing. Now, I'm saying this with the assumption that the parents I'm talking to are parents who fully intend to homeschool their child. Right. And see, those states with no or low regulation, they're saying, we trust you that you're going to go home and you're going to make sure that they take those core subjects, the math, reading, science, social studies, civics, right? We're trusting that you're going to do that, and that you're going to provide the adequate documentation needed for your child to get to the next level, as far as going to college or the military or trade school, right? And so it's on you. When you have that kind of freedom, that means you have that kind of power. That means it's on you to take up that responsibility to make sure that you're doing what you need to do in order for your child's homeschooling experience to be beneficial. Right. I pray that I'm making sense here. Right. So let's look at one of the states that is a low regulation state. Let's look at Arkansas. Right. And so if I click on Arkansas, right, it says Arkansas at a glance, right? So Arkansas homeschool law at a glance, right? How many options for homeschooling? That means how many types of homeschooling can you do? Says one, all right? School required for ages 5 through 17 in Arkansas. So you have to either be in public school, private school, parochial school, or homeschooling. Notification is required in Arkansas. Teachers' qualifications? No. State mandated subjects? No. Assessment requirements? No. That means in Arkansas, your children do not have to take a standardized test. And immunization requirements? No, right? And then you can go on to see complete details, okay? You see that, right? Let's look at Texas, which is a very, very homeschool friendly state with no notice, low regulation. Options for homeschooling, one, right? School required is for age 6 through 19 in Texas. Notification required? No, you have to notify. You do not have to notify the state. You just check that form and you're good. Teacher qualifications? No. Now, state mandated subjects? Yes. In Texas, they want to make sure you're taking a math, a social studies, an English, or reading, and a science, right? State so assessment requirements though? No. Immunization records requirements? No, right? So you see that. Now let's go to one of our dark blue states like South Carolina, where I live now. The dark blue states are considered moderate regulation, right? Now in South Carolina, there's 3 options for homeschooling, right? And then you have to click it for more details. But there are 3 different ways you can homeschool in South Carolina. School required for ages 5 through 17. Notifications required? No, but see option 1, approval process. So you don't have to get notification, but in South Carolina, you must have your homeschool approved through a homeschool association, right? Teacher qualifications? Yes. State mandated subjects? Yes. Assessment required? No, except for option 1. So there is an option in homeschooling where you do have to take the standardized test, and that may be the option where South Carolina offers a free online school, right? Free online schooling for homeschoolers in South Carolina. And that may be through that option that you have to take the standardized test. Immunization requirements? No, right? So again, visit hslda.org, right, to see what the requirements are in your state. Let's look at one of these states that has high regulation, right? Let's look at Pennsylvania, right? Pennsylvania, there's 4 different options to homeschool, right? School requirement for ages 6 through 18. Notification is required. Teacher qualifications? No, except for one of those options. State mandated subjects? Yes. No. For assessment requirements? No, except for one option. So, and look, immunization requirements is yes, right, in Pennsylvania, right? And so you'll find that in certain states, homeschooling is regulated, right, to the point where you have to be in communication. You have to have a relationship with the state if you're going to homeschool your child. Now, that may work for some people. It may not work for other people. You have to decide what's best for you. When you do this research, you have to decide, say, okay, you know what? This is too much regulation. Perhaps this isn't the place for me, or hey, I can handle the regulation. I will tell you this, even in the states where the regulation is high, it's not difficult, right? It generally won't be a difficult process, but it may be a tedious process, right? But again, this is an overview conversation, right? If you want me to help you research your state further, just get in touch with me. But for this conversation, I want to show you the resource so you could go and do that research for yourself. And that, again, that's HS, and let me put that in the comments for those who need it, right? hsdla.org. All right. All right. hsdla.org is where I recommend you go to figure out the homeschooling laws in your state. All right. Let's get back to this. All right. Good deal. Good deal. All right. All right. Uh-oh, I messed that up. Let me do that again. hslda.org. All right. Good, good, good. All right. Disregard the first one. Check out the second one. Okay. So now also understand your rights and responsibilities as a homeschooling parent. That's very, very important, right? A lot of times we'll assume that we don't have the power in the room. But as the parent, you are in control and you are responsible for your child's education, right? And you absolutely have the right, no matter where you are in the United States of America, to take your child's education into your own hands, right? And that doesn't look the same for everyone. Right. So it's important to understand, what those regulations are, but it's also important to understand your responsibilities as a homeschooling parent. When you take this task on, you're saying that, hey, I'm going to control this process. My family, we're going to build this process. We're going to build a path to success for our children, and we're going to be consistent with it. That's one of the biggest challenges that homeschooling parents face: consistency, right? But a lot of times, y'all, the reason why consistency becomes a problem is because we're trying to mimic public school at home, and that's not necessary. That's not needed. Also, trying to do it alone, right? That's why I suggest you build a supportive community and engage with local homeschooling groups, right? We have one that I love that I here in South Carolina called Acoma Cares. Right. And Acoma Cares is a collective of homeschooling parents that help each other find resources, organize field trips, organize play dates for students, right? And connecting homeschooling families together, right? A lot of times I've seen families come together and form homeschool co-ops. So no one's doing homeschooling full time. Everybody's homeschooling each other's children on a part-time schedule, right? So there's so many creative things that you can do once you enter the homeschooling community, because that's what you're becoming. That's what you're a part of. You're a part of a community, a collective. And so it's very important. You can go to social media and find homeschooling groups. There are so many things you can do, you know what I'm saying, to link up with homeschooling groups in your state, in your town, in your city, in your community. I guarantee you somebody is there. All right. All right. And homeschooling is on the rise, y'all. That community is getting bigger since 2020, right? The percentage of families that are homeschooling, or the percentage of families that are homeschooling in the United States, Black families used to represent around 3.3%. It's risen to 16.1%. 16.1%, right? Of Black families, you know what I'm saying, are homeschooling. That is a huge number. Right? That's a huge increase, and it's growing. COVID exposed a lot of things. When our babies came home from COVID, parents were forced to homeschool for a little while, and a lot of parents weren't pleased with what they were seeing. They weren't pleased with the lack of progress that their child was making. So as a result, a lot of children did not go back. A lot of parents said, oh, no, we're going to continue this journey right here at home, right? Now, I say that, but I don't want you to look at homeschooling as something that you're doing because the public school system is lacking. I don't want that to be that could be something that motivates you, definitely, right? But if you're going to actually homeschool, your disdain for the public school system ain't gonna make you get up every morning and teach your child, right? Your frustration with the lack of cultural relevance in the school system, your frustration with the reading and math levels, that frustration may carry you into the office to get your child out of the school. But that frustration is not going to be there to motivate you to get up every morning and be the consistent presence in your child's life that's going to be necessary in order to be successful at homeschooling. So you have to view homeschooling from its benefits. You have to view homeschooling for what it is, the opportunity that it provides for your family, the investment that you're making in your child. So you have to take it out of the external, right? And bring your homeschooling journey internal. Does that make sense, y'all? Because once you buy into it as a family and you buy into the journey internally, then you'll start seeing possibilities that you didn't see before. All right. All right. Let's keep moving. Okay. Which brings us perfectly in tip number 2. Right. Tip number 1 was know your rights, know your laws, know your responsibilities. Tip number 2, you got to unschool your mind. Yes, you have to unschool your mind. What do I mean by that, y'all? There is no law that says your child has to be in class by 8 and be in school until 3 p.m. There's no law that says your child has to learn every single standard that's listed on the state education standards, right? Right? But let me back up a little bit. Let me go back to the first thing I said. Break away from traditional educational structures. You have to unschool your mind. Your family has a schedule. You may have a work schedule, right? You may have a certain work schedule that's not conducive to your child being in class at a certain time on a certain day, right? You may do bulk of your teaching on Saturday. One of the things that you have to realize that even though your child is in school for 6 to 7 hours a day, learning is not taking place from 6 to 7 hours a day. I'm going to say that again. Even though your child is in public school from 6 to 7 hours a day, that does not mean that intense learning is taking place from 6 to 7 hours a day. The most intense learning during a school day probably takes up 2 to 3 hours. You could actually homeschool your child half a day, for half a day, and they get the same intense learning experience that they would have gotten at the public school. I think that's very important because some of you will have to homeschool in the afternoon. Some of you will, will set up structures for your children, particularly if you have older children, right? You can actually there are things that you can set up during the day while you're at work that they can log into and put work in, right? So there's so many things that you can do, right? But first you have to break away from the traditional educational structure, right? You have to embrace a flexible, holistic approach to learning as well. Learning does not have to take place the way that we're used to seeing it in school. All right, everybody come sit at the desk. All right, everybody get out your paper. All right, everybody, here's a test. No. Explore different teaching styles, different learning styles. Explore your child. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But homeschooling gives you the opportunity to tailor your child's learning to your child's strengths. Right? Homeschooling gives you that freedom, right? So unschool your mind. You embrace a flexible, holistic approach to learning, right? Remember, learning education is meant to draw out the greatness that's already there. Okay? So a holistic approach to learning life skills, health and wellness, spiritual development. Oh, you got the freedom now. Character. You have the freedom now to be holistic with your child's learning, right? And yes, you're reading, your math, but now you can tailor your child's math towards your child's strengths and challenges. You don't have to say, all right, you third grade, you got to do this. No, when you're homeschooling, you can say, let me give you an assessment. Let me go to IXL.com or someone give you this assessment and see where your math and reading levels actually are. And you don't go in worried about whether or not they're on grade level. When you homeschool, you can focus in on skill level. There's a difference. There's a difference between grade level and skill level. Now, when I coach my clients, we get more in depth with that. At the Uhura Academy, for example, at our school, we focus on skill level. Where are your skills? And let's build on top of where you are. And let's get you to where you need to be in order to get where you're trying to go. Y'all understand the difference? So we're not going to say, okay, you're 8, that's third grade. Let's start with multiplication. No. You're 8. Let's see where your skill set is. And based on this assessment, the skill set says you need to start at 3-digit addition with carrying. No, your skill set says you're ready for pre-algebra. Let's go there. See, flexible, holistic. One of the things I found is that this is a reading generation, a read-heavy generation. Why do I say that? They're always looking at a screen reading something. So you'll find that a lot of our children are really advanced readers, right? Particularly if you assess them in a culturally relevant way, right? Homeschooling gives you the freedom to really see where your child's skill levels are, but don't panic, right? Also, you want to encourage your children. You want to teach in a way that encourages your children to explore their interests and their passions. Man, he all he wants to do is play that video game. Well, talk to him about game design. Why am I talking to him about game design? Well, number one, it's a huge industry. Number two, it requires him to learn some skills that will be transferable into other industries like coding. Now I can wrap his interest, I can wrap his learning around his what? Around his interests. Wrap your daughter's learning around her interests. So when you're homeschooling, it's all about helping your children find out, how do I want to contribute to this world? What do I want to bring into this world? How do I want to uplift this family? What will be my role? Oh man, you can have conversations at home that they just can't engage in at school. And in school, of course, it's about the whole group, about everybody. But when you're at home, you can center the whole education experience around your child. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. It's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When developing a learning experience for your child at home, you have the opportunity to give them to challenge them to think, right? To challenge them to think critically, right? To develop that innate natural genius that's already there. How many of us saw that genius in our child early on? But because your child is a unique learner, an energetic learner, right? They got labeled as hyperactive, labeled as ADD or something like that inside the school system, right? And got labeled with a learning disability that was really genius. And you thinking that they're taking these pills and behavior medicines to cure the disability, but all they're really doing is killing the genius. You know your child. Which leads us to tip number 3. Quick review. What was tip number 1? Know your what? Know the laws, your rights, and your responsibilities. What was tip number 2? You have to what? Unschool your mind. Now, tip number 3. Know your child and build your lesson. When I talk to parents, a lot of parents lose confidence over time in their ability, right? In their confidence in how much and how well they know their child. Because you're going and you sit in an office, and sometimes that counselor or that principal is describing a baby to you that you say, this ain't my child. Yeah, he threw the eraser at such and such and called such and such out of the name. Did you who and you look at who is this child, right? Or they're showing you a test, a failing test or something. You like, man, I know my baby's smart. I know you're more intelligent than this. I remember sitting down with my son's first grade teacher. Of course, it was obviously before my homeschooling journey. And I remember her sitting down with her, and he's in the first grade. And oh my God, he was a terror in class, but he's a highly intelligent young man. He's active. If he gets bored, he's going to create something to do. Well, I'm sitting there and we're talking about everything that's going on. And she looked me right in my eyes, and it was a Caucasian lady. And she said, I just don't think he wants to learn. I really don't think he can get the material. He's 6 years old. And you want to tell me my child at 6 already doesn't want to learn? My child at 6 already can't learn the material? Once your child is labeled like that inside of any system, the expectations go below the floor. And when those expectations go below the floor, the next thing you know, everything your child does behavior wise is a problem, and they end up criminalizing your child. As a parent, you have to be able to sit there and say, well, no, my child can absolutely learn. My child absolutely loves to learn. Perhaps it's your ability to teach. Know your child. Understand that no one does better than you do. But sometimes we fall back on how much we know our child because we live in a day now where we spend a lot of time in front of our screens. Babies are looking at things on YouTube. You don't know what they're watching, but they're learning values. They're being taught. Even though you saw the video and it was just somebody screaming, ah, 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 some type of character is being taught inside that video. Sometimes it's a little kid that's crying and mad because he didn't get everything that they wanted to get. And they're teaching, if you don't get everything that you want to get, throw a fit. Right. So we have to be mindful to what our children are consuming media wise. As a homeschooling parent, guess what? Now you have an opportunity to be more engaged in that aspect of your child's life as well. Now you can take their favorite YouTube channel and develop lessons from it. So you're watching Corey Kitchen play video games every day. Okay, what about this video is appealing to you? Well, I like when he does the jump scares. All right, what makes a jump scare a jump scare? And what type of software is he using to edit these videos? Could you create a video like that if you learned those skills? Know your child, then build your lesson. My child loves art. My child loves to draw and can't stand math. All right, well, guess what we're about to do? We're about to blend that art with the math. Art is a great way to learn geometry, symmetry, shapes, right? Know your child, build your lesson, right? So when you're homeschooling, you can leverage the knowledge of your child's strengths, weaknesses, and interests, right? So your child's gonna have some challenges too. So you gotta make sure, say, okay, look, in order to get to the things that you love to do, we're gonna work on these challenges and get better over here, right? Also, like I said, integrate those challenges into those areas where your child is interested in. So if the challenge is math, but they love art, let's pull some math lessons from the art. If the challenge is math, but they love gaming, right? Let's do some word problems and some problem solving based on your child's favorite video game. Create a personalized and engaging curriculum. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, you're like, I don't have any experience developing curriculum. Well, I do, right? I'm a resource. There are other resources out there, people that you can get in touch with, that you can engage with in order to help you develop a curriculum that's personalized for your child. There's YouTube videos out there, right? It doesn't have to be super complicated, right? But you want to personalize it and make it engaging. That's why I say work from skill level, not from grade level, and then center it around your child's interests, right? Identify your child's learning preferences. Do you have a hands-on learner? My wife and I, we have 8 children. They're not all the same. They don't all learn the same, right? Uzuri loves instruction, paper, an example, and a quiz. She loves that. Uhuru, action. He wants to touch it, see it, feel it, pick it up. He's the artist. His learning style is completely different, right? Incorporate African-centered content into the lessons. This is important. We're going to talk about that. I'm talking to Black parents right now, right? Your children need to see you in the curriculum. Your children need to see themselves in the curriculum. That is key. They talk about the achievement gap in public schools between white children and non-white children. The greatest factor in the achievement gap is that the only achievement they learn about is white achievement. So yes, the white child is going to achieve more because the white child is giving more examples of achievement that looks like them. Several studies show that personalized learning significantly improves student achievement. Culturally relevant learning significantly improves child achievement. As a homeschooler, you can make your curriculum as culturally relevant as possible. And I know I hear this all the time. I want my baby to learn about everybody. I want them to be a well-rounded person. I hear that all the time. Right. So people say, no, I like to go to their school with the white kids and just teach you how to be around other people. You know what teaches you how to be around other people? Learning manners, learning good character, learning core values like honesty, respect, learning how to listen. You can learn that around purple people. You can learn that around anyone because those skills are transferable. But when you can walk in those rooms and not feel like a guest at the table, but feel like an owner of the table, what does that do to your confidence? When you can walk into a room and you're first of all self-assured before anything else, you're not walking in saying, oh, I have to talk different, I have to walk different, I have to make these people accept me, I have to speak more nasally. How many of you experience that right now on your jobs? A nervousness and anxiety when you're around non-Black co-workers, a feeling that you have to look a different way or move a different way, an insecurity. Do we want to pass that on to our children? Or do we want to raise innovators, creatives, and leaders who are self-confident, self-assured, that understand that I was great when I was born, that education is not something that's poured on me to civilize me? Do y'all understand the difference? So incorporate African-centered curriculum. And all that means is that center the curriculum around the experience of people that look like you, that share your culture, people of African descent, Moorish descent, whatever, you call yourself. You get what I'm saying. So when your child learns math, they need to understand the African origins of mathematics, the African experience with mathematics. We weren't introduced to math during slavery. We wasn't introduced to reading and writing during slavery. Our ancestors built whole civilizations, were the fathers and mothers of civilization. And there are so many examples of mathematical achievement, literary achievement, scientific achievement that goes back thousands of years, that when you teach from that framework, your child will take ownership in these disciplines. And then when they get out there in the world and they're coding with others, they're being architects with others, they're in these STEM fields with others, they're in that STEM field knowing that they're carrying a legacy with them that tells them that they belong at the table before they got to that table, right? That's very, very important. All right. Now, here's another key. Now, so that was tip 3. That was tip 3. Know your child, build your lesson. Don't build that lesson based on what the state say your child is. You build that lesson based on what's best for your child and what's going to get your child to success. All right. Y'all good? Y'all following me? I hope so. Because now we at tip 4. The power of good documentation. Right? When you're homeschooling, you need to maintain detailed records of academic progress, grades, attendance, and extracurricular activities, right? Right? You want to you want to have a reporting period. Now you don't have to keep the same reporting period, report card period as the school does, right? You can modify what goes on your report card. You could put chores on your child's report card. You could put if needed, you can grade your child based on how they treat their siblings. On top of the math, the reading, and that sort of thing, based on the need. You may have a business, or your child may have their own business. You can integrate your child's business inside of that curriculum and grade them for that as well. You can build your math around your child's business. You can build reading comprehension around your child's business. Let's say your child is running an online business. You can build computer literacy around it, entrepreneurship around it in real time. But you want to keep a record. You want to make sure that you have a way of measuring how well they do, how much time that they're putting in. There are third-party sites that'll do a lot of that work for you. A lot of that work can be automated for you with the proper coaching and the proper research. But you want to maintain good details. Your child may have to go to public school one day or go to college. You want to make sure that your high schoolers that you homeschool are going to have a transcript with a GPA. Right? Keep good records. Repeat after me. Keep good records. All right. And that's regardless of the state that you're in, you have to keep good records. Create a portfolio showcasing your child's work and accomplishments. Man, all of that can go into that could help your child get into an exclusive school, exclusive college. Do y'all know that Ivy League schools and many universities, they actually prefer homeschooled students over students coming out of the public school system? Because they know they're going to be dealing with critical thinkers. They know that they're going to be dealing with innovators. When homeschooled properly, they know they're going to be dealing with a child that hasn't been lumped into a structure, right? So they'll have, a structure that's rudimentary, that's robotic, a structure that says, "Are we going to get this Scantron? I mean, not Scantron. We're going to get this multiple choice test at the end of the year." No, no, no. They know that they're going to get a child that's probably had to not only do book reports, but had to go do some community exploration. That's probably participated in some panel discussions. You see what I'm saying? That's done some project-based learning, right? So keep a portfolio showcasing all of the unique things that your children are doing, right? Also, proper record keeping provides legal protection and facilitates transitions to higher education. Homeschooling students do go to school. They get to go to college. And guess what, y'all? It's a federal law. Any institution of higher learning that accepts taxpayer dollars, they have to accept homeschool students. And homeschool students absolutely qualify for federal financial aid. Don't let anybody tell you different. Now, a private college can say, "Hey, I don't want homeschool students." The good ones don't do that. The only schools you're going to run into, and I always take advantage of opportunities to slam them, are certain technical colleges that are price gouging the public. They're so crooked that they scared on who to accept. So they scrutinize homeschoolers. They scrutinize private high school diplomas and things like that. But they do that because they're crooked. People like DeVry, Art Institute of the Art Institutes and places like that. You may get some flack with these schools, but these schools are only giving you flack because they're practicing something that's unethical, like charging your child $16,000 a year to get a CNA certificate when your child can go to your local community college for $399 and get the same certificate. Oh yeah, that happens. And that's a part of homeschooling too, y'all. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you do your research when graduating your children and getting them to the next level and building their pipeline to power, their pipeline to success, that you look into the higher learning industry as an industry, as a business. These are businesses, and they're in business to make money. Cost of service, quality of service, that's important. And in education in particular, just because it costs a lot doesn't mean it's high quality. So make sure you're doing your research. Make sure you're doing your documentation. All right. All right. Cool, cool, cool. Let's keep going. So tip 4, the power of good documentation. Last tip today, right? Culture to humans is like fish to water. I'm going to say this again. I talked about it a little bit earlier. Culture to humans is like fish to water. How we live, how we emote, our core value system. When you homeschool your child, you have a unique opportunity to instill the core values, right? That are the foundation of your own family. To instill those core values, be it spiritual values or whatnot, but it's your opportunity to instill and reinforce core values, you know what I'm saying, in your child that's going to carry them throughout their lives. I don't want to shut off from sometimes people like, I don't know, they shut off from society. They shut off, they in this house, they shut off from, they're not shut off from nothing. They're not shut off for anything. As a homeschooling parent, you can get your children engaged in activities in the community at your leisure. But you are protecting them from influences that may carry them away from what you're trying to instill in them. And I want you to think about that. And I don't want you to underestimate that. A lot of parents put that on the scale. The culture of my house versus my children being able to be at the prom with everybody, be at homecoming with everybody, and be walking up and down the halls with their friends. The culture in my house versus the culture in the halls of the school. Because that logo on top of the school, we believe in excellence, that ain't necessarily the culture of the school. You understand what I'm saying? I've been in schools where they had a mural on the wall that say "We believe in excellence," and standing right under that was somebody smoking weed, or two different gang sets having a fight. So the culture in your household doesn't necessarily match the culture in the school, and do not underestimate the culture in the school and its ability to interfere with the culture in your household. When you homeschool, take full advantage of the fact that your child is being protected from this culture over here that may be a death culture, a negative culture, a self-destructive culture, and spending more time in your home where you can instill a life-affirming culture inside your class and inside your house. Look, or inside your child. Look, there are good people fighting over here in the school to turn that culture around, but in a lot of areas, it's not working. And there is nothing wrong with saying, I'm going to bring my child over here so my child can focus on learning and developing as a person, and where I can pour an armor around my child. So when they do go and interact with their peers, they won't fall for the okie doke. They won't fall to the social pressures that come along with sitting somewhere among people every day and naturally wanting to belong, naturally wanting to fit in. That's something to think about. Culture to humans is like fish to water. And fish adapt to the water. The water don't adapt to the fish. So our children are going to adapt to the environment. The environment is not going to adapt to your child. And that's something to definitely consider when you're considering homeschooling. You're not cutting your child off from society. You're preparing your child for society. Say that again. You're not cutting your child off from society. You're preparing your child for society. For Black homeschooling parents, you need to integrate African history, Black history, and culture into everything that you do. They need to see us in science. They need to see us in math. They need to see that. That don't mean don't talk about Galileo. That don't mean don't talk about Socrates and that sort of thing, but talk about it from an African-centered perspective. If you're teaching the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, don't say Pythagoras is the father of that, because Pythagoras is not. The Great Pyramid is 1,000 years older than Pythagoras, and it's a living example of a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And it was built by a Black king named Khufu. You see the difference? When you do talk about the enslavement of our people, you don't call our ancestors slaves. You say our ancestors were Africans who were enslaved. You see the difference? And then you teach it as a story of triumph and resilience, because it wasn't designed for us to survive, yet we did. It wasn't designed for us to ever get free from it, yet we did. So you teach it to show and to tell your child you're that resilient too. You're that creative. Do you know how creative you had to be to survive 300 years of bondage and still preserve your culture? Now your child is walking around not proud to have been a slave, but proud to have been an African that survived slavery. Proud to be a descendant of people who were great farmers. Proud to be a descendant of people who were mathematicians and civilization builders, kings, queens, warriors, family builders. You want to reinforce family values? Use African history to reinforce family values, to reinforce wisdom. I'm going to share a little assignment that I do. We do a creative writing with our children, right? And we use what we develop. One of our curriculum is called the African Wisdom Journal. And the African Wisdom Journal is a creative writing journal where the creative writing prompts are African proverbs. I use Adobe Character Animator and I created a digital puppet of myself, a digital character of myself that delivers the writing prompt, delivers the proverbs, right? And I'm going to share it. See, it's more than just a Black history. Being culturally relevant is more than just a Black history class, right? It's also about teaching values, core values, but within the context of African people, because they may be walking into a world that uses the N word to refer to Black boys and Black girls, the B word to refer to themselves amongst their peers, right? You have to counter that. You have the opportunity as a homeschooling parent to counter that and to show them that no, not all Black people aren't ghetto. What they say, ghetto and ratchet. And even what people call ghetto and ratchetness are just remnants of African culture, and it's not a bad thing. Oh man, y'all, I can go on, but let me share this with you. Let me share this with you. I said I was just gonna do my quick overview, right? Right now, we're in the midst of doing a summer STEM camp. We're hosting the UACI Summer STEM Camp, co-hosting with Dr. Oya Mayad and the Conscious Ingenuity Pro, teaching them STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math from an African-centered perspective. They sign in every morning. In the first half of the day, they're learning African history and values. And then the second half of the day, they're learning coding, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity, right? But we're using the cultural framework to help them develop the confidence and the ethics that it takes, right, to embrace them, and embrace them with the mindset to be an innovator that's going to make the world better. Right. And so one of the things we do to reinforce that learning is every day we have an African proverb of the day. This is one of those proverbs. Greetings, young scholars and future leaders. Baba Amin back again with another powerful African proverb. Today, I want to share a potent African proverb with you. It goes, do not follow the path. Go where there is no path to begin a trail. I'm going to say it again. Do not follow the path. Go where there is no path to begin a trail. Now, you might be wondering, what does this proverb really mean for you? Well, let me break it down. Firstly, this proverb is all about courage. You see, it's easy to follow a set path, to do what's always been done, to think like everyone else, but that's not what leaders do. Leaders look for new ways to solve old problems, just like we're doing here at the Uhuru Academy. We're daring to take a different approach to education, an approach that respects and uplifts our history, our culture, and our unique potential. Secondly, the proverb is a call to innovate. Don't just accept the world as it is. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Use that brilliant mind of yours to think outside the box to find better solutions for our community and the world at large. This could be in science, technology, the arts, or social justice. The field doesn't matter. What matters is that you bring a fresh perspective into it. Lastly, this proverb teaches us the importance of resilience. When you venture off the beaten path, you're going to face challenges. There will be obstacles and naysayers telling you to go back, to give up. Don't listen. Keep pushing, keep striving, and remember that every great trail was begun by someone who dared to go where others hadn't. So, as you go about your studies, your extracurricular activities, and your life, remember, you have the ability and the responsibility to start new trails. Whether you become an entrepreneur, an artist, an activist, or a scholar, aim not just to achieve, but to transform. In your pursuits, uphold the pride, dignity, and brilliance that is our heritage. You are the future, and the future is whatever trail you decide to blaze. Remember, do not just follow the path. Go where there is no path to begin a trail. Peace and happy writing. Some of y'all listen to that and say, ooh, I needed to hear that today. And guess what? I'm going to say this to you as a homeschooling parent. Do not follow the path. Go where there is no path to begin a trail. People are going to tell you, don't do it. Put them babies in school. Don't you take them babies out of school. Even while you're homeschooling and working hard, folks gonna make comments. It's gonna be family. They're gonna make comments like your kids don't even go to school. But let them know that you're blazing a new trail, that you're establishing a new tradition in your family, that you're setting new standards that go beyond the standards that the state is setting for our children. When you decide to homeschool your child, you're stepping away from that path that most of us are taught that we have to go. And there are others on that path as well, but none of our paths are exactly the same in the homeschooling community. Your path, your homeschool journey, and your child's homeschool journey is yours. It belongs to you, but it is connected to us. Your trail is going to connect to my trail. My trail connects to their trail, and we're building community, and we're building it around something, right, that we all have in common, and that's a desire for our children to be successful. And if we can't unite around our children, what can we unite around? All right. This is my conclusion right here. I didn't mean to put tip 5 right there. This is just our conclusion, right? Just to sum it all up. African-centered homeschooling empowers Black families to control their child's education. When you do it from an African-centered perspective, and I do train people on African-centered pedagogy, you do not have to have studied Black history for 35, 40 years in order to have an African-centered homeschool. There is training available. You get my contact information, right? We have resources already available. Right. And but doing it from that perspective as a Black homeschooler makes, man, don't you want your child to learn the things about us that you didn't get to learn in school? And you really gonna feel in control when you do it from that perspective. All right. A recap, key points. Tip number 1, know your laws, your rights, and your responsibilities. Tip number 2, unschool your mind. Tip number 3, know your child and build your lessons around your child, right? Tip number 4, the power of good documentation. Keep good records, right? Tip number 5, culture to humans is like fish to water. Make sure that what you do is culturally relevant, not just relevant in a Black history sense, but relevant to the culture that you've established inside your home and your own family traditions. Name your homeschool. Develop your own school shield. Develop your homeschool. Develop your school motto. Develop your school colors. Institutionalize your home. Integrate your family motto. If you don't have a family motto, a family saying, then you need to develop one and integrate that into your homeschool. Malcolm X said that education is our passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. You getting prepared. I want to thank you all for listening. If anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to put those in the chat. Feel free to put those in the chat right now. Okay. I'm also going to put an invite into the chat for anyone who would like to come into the studio and maybe share their homeschooling journey. Maybe you have a resource, maybe you know of some homeschooling resources, or maybe you have a question or a comment, right? But any questions, comments, or concerns, right? I'm not gonna wait all day, but but this is that time. This is that time. Any questions that you may have, you can put them in the chat. I'll put your question up on the board here and do my best to answer it. Any comments? How did y'all feel about this webinar? Is this a webinar that you feel like others would benefit from? I'm open to your suggestions. How do we get this webinar out there? I know I enjoy delivering it. Again, this is based on experience. I also want to shout out again Acoma Cares. I'm just really, really impressed with Acoma Cares. I appreciate them. They invited us recently to a homeschool conference here in Columbia, South Carolina. I had the opportunity to share our learning model with some Black families, Black homeschooling families, and it was truly an honor to be a part of. Right. I want to shout out my beautiful wife, Nkoyo Ojuok, my partner, for her undying support and love and work. All right. I want to thank all of our current parents at the Uhuru Academy and future parents with our Uhuru Academy online program as well. That's our K through 12 virtual program. We have students who attend from all over the country and in Africa from September all the way to May, full time. And we've been doing that since what, 2015? I think we're going into our 9th year virtual, right? Our 15th year overall as a school. Very proud of that. Definitely want to shout out UASC International, our partner school, campus school here in Columbia, South Carolina, the Washington family, UASC International. That's where my youngest children attend. This is the model institution where we are right now. If you all want to see how to convert family land into a school, you need to holler at me and set up a tour at UASC International. Great work going on out here. And I want to shout out to the entire team. Again, I want to shout out the entire team with the Uhuru Academy Conscious Ingenuity Summer STEM Program, UACI Summer STEM Program. We actually did this is our 3rd year doing a STEM camp, and we actually did a research paper last year where we actually polled and surveyed our students, their parents, and the impact that an African-centered approach to STEM was having on their attitudes towards STEM learning. And y'all, 95% showed an increased engagement and interest in STEM careers, in STEM learning as a result of the camp. As a result of us doing that research paper, the first of its kind. All right. I co-authored the paper with Dr. Oya Mayat. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. She was LeBron James. I was more like not even Anthony Davis. I was not Bronny either, dog. I was a step above Bronny, right? Austin Reeves. I was a good role player on the paper, but my name is on there. We published and it was published by the American Society of Engineers and Education, and it was actually, our paper was actually selected at the annual conference for a poster board presentation, and so we were definitely honored at that as well. But we're doing groundbreaking research based on our model and our approach because we have to show you all that it works. We have to show the world that it works. Okay. All right. So I don't have any questions. That's fine. That means that just tells me that whoever listened and watched today, those of you who watched, that you got something from it. You ready to go. All right. And no problem at all. All right. Let me go here. All right. Again, contact me. Right. You may want to talk further. You may want to recommend me to others. Right. There's a QR code on this slide. If you're in front of a computer, you can definitely scan that QR code and get all my contacts and go right to your phone. But I also have it listed here. You can email me at babamin@uhuruacademy.com. Call us directly at 682-233-5054. Check out our website at uhuruacademy.com. And then, of course, I have my Instagram, Facebook, YouTube handles up here as well. Hey, y'all, I appreciate you, right? Thank you for attending. Thank you for being a part of it. Allow me to take a part of your Saturday to talk about this homeschooling journey. Let's not let this be the end of the conversation. If you are a Black homeschooling parent, get in touch with me. Let's talk about your homeschool journey. We want to empower you. All right. Hey, y'all, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Peace. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll put that up there, Miss Pierce. Thank you very much. Thank you for your insightful and fresh shared. I feel more informed, encouraging, excited. Yes, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you. And you're welcome, Miss Autry. All right. And Miss Autry actually has a child that's in our summer STEM camp. right now. We're definitely enjoying Maya, and she's doing a great job. And yeah, y'all, there's some powerful, powerful parents and families out here. We are who we've been waiting for. All right. Hey, I look forward to talking to y'all again. Have a good one. Peace.